there's a whole bunch of QGIS websites that is very good to know about and to visit if you're new or if you're not new. So obviously the QGIS site itself, it's current release. You can download this and older versions. So no interesting things there. There's a very good user manual, right? So this is also just for everybody. At the moment, it is 3.2.2, and the documentation here is thorough. Everything's there. So anything that you want to research or figure out how it works, that's the spot to go to. They've got a training manual, so open that, with lessons and all sorts of information there. So no reason to not know about any of that. So you can even go through that yourself. This is a very cool thing, the visual change log. For every version of QGIS, they have this change log on what's the things that was improved, added, and you can see every version's change there with a sometimes these moving GIFs that shows you exactly what the change is and what the improvement is. So that is pretty helpful if you keep track of that. I will go on to the next one. We're probably not a lot of developers.
Philip, just there's a lot of detail in that slide, which is great. We are going to provide information, and I see you have a handout, but I think the handout's about just installing and using, and these are about QGIS. Just so folks know, you don't have to be taking notes here. We will be sending you this info, and so the bigger picture is there's a fair chunk of stuff. So keep going then, please. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. For people who develop software, the source code are here on GitHub. I'm not going to click that one, but it's all there and available. Then just to show that the QGIS community, the QGIS community is not a small group of people. It's a massive contributory thing. So you can see there, Switzerland, Germany. This thing is loading a bit longer than it should, but there's a massive number of companies and countries involved in this. In Australia, there's developers that use this. I might just stop sharing my camera just to save some bandwidth there. And there's a whole lot of people.
Yep, and if you
that does support
deep enough there, you'll find open Spatial involved in the community too.
Yes, this is my next slide, Colin. Then they also do carry a little bit of, or do harvest a little bit of information about usage. So this is also quite useful to have a quick look at, right? So here, right at the bottom, you can see they when this is not blocked and you haven't closed this off in your QGIS settings, they do capture some information of when you use QGIS, and you can see the graph here from say last year to now, 6.9 million opens, and they for January 11.9. So there's a lot of info here on the statistics on the usage of QGIS, and I'm really just showing you these things to let you know QGIS is not a little Mickey Mouse piece of software. It is over lots of users, lots of support, and lots of information on the web about it. So this slide here, OpenSpatial and QGIS development. OpenSpatial have, as time goes by and we use the software more and more, we found places in QGIS that we really want improved, and so that our users and generally the rest of the people using QGIS get the benefits of that. So the two examples that we have here is, at one point QGIS was not showing real arcs out of Oracle in the QGIS map interface. So in the beginning, or at that point, they would show the line section of a polyline that has arcs, but not the arc itself. So we paid and got that done. The other one was to add the schema name to the connection information, so that when you make a connection, it doesn't read all the schemas and all the tables and all the schemas, but just the schema you're interested in. So over time, we do this and make sure that QGIS also aligns and works well with what we do. Open Spatial's QGIS document. So this is the handout that I added there in the webinar. So if you, I'll just open up that quickly. So this is a document that looks like this, and it contains information for GIS administrators to set up the Oracle and Mansus in such a way that your users can access Oracle and your Mansus data with QGIS, and also ensure that they have the permissions that you want them to have. So I'm not going to go into much detail here, but you will see it will tell you where to download it again. Using MMC, the Mansus Management Console, to set up a user with permissions, and you can follow this flowchart here to decide which roles a specific user must have. But generally, what we find is the typical is just a read-only user. So you give people, you create the user called GIS read-only, you give that username and password to whoever wants to use QGIS and log in and look at your data. That's the safest, but you can have custom roles, edit roles, and all of that. But the query role for read-only, that's the one we definitely would prefer. Then there's just going through how you do that, and then setting up QGIS, and we'll have a look at that just in a moment as well. Right, so that's that document, and I'm going a little bit quicker than what I would have, but we all know why. In terms of plugins, so QGIS plugin architecture allows for a lot of extra functionality that can be developed and get into QGIS, so that everything is not have to be done by the core QGIS framework or architecture people. So they have this plugins world. There's also, of course, on the right-hand side, you can get a toolbox with a lot of extra tools over there as well. But in terms of plugins, this is a site again that lists all counts the downloads of plugins and checks how many of them are being downloaded over time. And you can see Quick Map Services is the one that is most downloaded and most used, and this is the one we also will see a little bit later on when I use QGIS. And there's a lot of them. There's no limit to what all of this is, what these plugins can do, and yeah, the numbers are pretty big. What's that? 4.3 million. Okay, so let's go on to the next thing. All right, now we're going into a little bit more closer to the product itself. So what we have here is we're going to quickly have a look at the specific tools that QGIS has in terms of Oracle, on how to connect to Oracle, how to manage with projects, and also a little bit of the DB manager. So I'll just quickly then swap to my QGIS, which I thought I had open. Yes, I do. So there's the QGIS, and And down here, so the three things that I want to show you here is in Oracle, you in the Oracle connection. So this is just a browser. If you go to view panels, you'll see the panels, all of these things like the layers and these things are called panels, sorry. And the browser is the one that is where you sort of can look through or search for spatial data in all sorts of places. And there's this Oracle item in there, and when you connect to that, it will ask you for the password that you've set up before. And if you do that, it will connect, and you see there scanning 9, which is the data you use for this demo, plus, and then we'll table list through from the connection. So if you get the connection here, this is the information is asked, what we want to call it, the specific database, the port, the schema. We had added, so you will see the underlying schema there only. And then how the password is being stored over here. Then to make things a little bit quicker, they have these checkboxes for you to decide on a few things. So I also check these two boxes to make sure that we don't need anything more. And then there's this new one allow.
Okay, so now it's got all the tables in the schema there. And you'll see the spatial tables, and one of the options was to include tables without geometry, and we did not check that one. So we're seeing all of these that have all of the essentially Muncis features in them. And you can see the points, lines, and polygons. And then from there, you can add those into your project. Okay, so Philip is going to open a project from Oracle where we can store that setup from before. So you can go in and save this setup. So once you've got all your layers and your symbology and everything else included in the project, then you can save it. So the next time you come in, you can just go and open it. So, you know, if we go and take a project that's been set up already, you can get straight to that. All right, so a couple of things on this slide that I can pick up on since we can't hear Philip. Okay, the point number 2, save and open your QGIS projects in Oracle. So we've shown you that, a couple of options there. You can see what it's done is it's added a table in your schema. Just be careful, it doesn't replace the Muncis management console. Okay, this is just seeing the data that's in Muncis. So if you go to the Oracle DB Manager here, you can see all of this stuff. And you can use it, it'll work because the Muncis is using a completely open version of Oracle. If you have a login, you can go in and check it. But for example, don't try and add a new feature here because Muncis will not see it, and Muncis will not see the sequences. So and then also on the editing side, all the sequences and relationships that are built out in Muncis are not going to get carried over here. There's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that Muncis does to keep track of, so that you've got the right lookup table on the right column and you've got the right sequence and the integrity check. So there's quite a lot on the editing side that goes there. So so Philip's going to go in here and log in. And so you'll see down the bottom, it's scanning all of that stuff. Oh, are we back again?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes, keep going.
All right. Yep. Don't know what happened. Right. So we're back at the data DB manager. So this is point 3 on this slide.
Philip,
so yes.
Could you hear me talking when you were busy?
Just a little bit at the end, Colin.
Okay.
I don't know when I dropped off. So.
All right, yeah, you dropped off right after you've done point number 2. So go to point number 3 would be fine. I think I just talked a little bit about using the DB manager. I was showing it as you were walking through it, so that we could save and load projects. And so now we're in the DB manager. So carry on from there.
All right, thank you. If we go then to the DB Manager, you can see here we can, same thing, we can look at all the tables and things. You can have a preview of the data, but you can also have a SQL window here. So similar to whatever, Toad or DB or
SQL
Developer. Yeah, you can do select count star from SB what part, like that, and you can execute queries, and you get similar results. So these are the three main tools for Oracle that QGIS has out of the box. Maybe, yeah, this save QGIS projects into Oracle. I don't know. So that is basically, I think I showed that, where you just go to Oracle here, and you won't have a list like this, but you can. So I've saved a bunch of projects in Oracle. And what this does, it helps you to not have to have it on your desktop, and also you'll be able to share this with other people. So if someone else logs into Oracle, they'll see the same list of projects that you see. So it's sort of a centralized way to store QGIS projects. Okay, so the next one here is the heat map creation. So this is a bit of a use case for our customers that gets maybe shift vectors from third parties, and wants to analyze those shift vectors to see, you know, where they're long, where they're very long, where they're short, are they overlapping in my area, and so on. So I've shown the result here on the left hand side, but we'll quickly do this in QGIS so you guys can see how that works. So the first thing is to just get the shift vectors. So got them stored here as shift vectors.shape over there, and I will just drag that in there. Right. So you'll see the shift vectors are little lines all over the place. Now, to make a heat map, these shift vectors need to be, or you need the actual. Let me just show you. So the length of the shift vector. The length of the shift vector is stored in an attribute called shift distance, 7.39 meters for that one. So what we'll do is to use one of these tools in the panel, in the processing toolbox panel, is to use one of them to convert these lines to little points and to have that shift distance on the point feature. So I've used this before. So this is the one I'm going to use, and if we run that, it converts these lines that we had to points, and I'll zoom that out so we can have the big picture again. Now we're going to use this to create the heat map. So it's really not even it's not really that difficult. All we're doing is we're using the symbology, and we pick a heat map, and I'm going to say, well, let's pick the reds.
Units
and use that as 5 mil, and the weighting is going to be the shift distance that we have, so the length that was saved in that shift vector. So this will take a bit, and so there is our heat map. I'll just drag the heat map below the points. All right, so now what we can see here is the areas that is dark would be the areas where the shift vectors are the longest, right? So, and we can now go and test that. So I'll switch the vectors on again. So we'll zoom into this little area here, and we can see probably these guys. if we just have a look at them, you can see those shift vectors over here on the right, 38 meters long. So the cadastre in this area is moving by 38 meters in the direction that is shown there. And here, which I know there's a town here called Portland for everybody. So this is also a fairly dark. So let's see in this suburb here, relatively to the ones around it, 1.91 meters. What you must realize is it recreates this heat map for the shift vectors that is visible in the extent of the map you're at. So relative to the other ones in this area, these are long, but if you zoom out and it recreates the heat map relative to all of these are the longest ones. All right, so that's a use case for QGIS to make, and this is relevant. I think I've mentioned that there's a lot of projects happening, especially in Victoria, with these digital cadastre modernization projects where we do get these shift vectors and need to analyze them and see what what they're all about. All right, so that's this one, heat map creation. The next one, this is a fun one. So we Munsis, as the users of Munsis would know, has data called that's stored in the SPAD tables, and these data are data that is automatically created by our lineage functionality over time, and it captures when data changes on objects in the database. Right, so what we're going to do here is just use a new, are you sure you want to proceed? Yes, you want to save it, discard. All right, so we're going to change this coordinate system to the correct one. Sorry, this is on my other screen. 7854, yep. So what we're going to do now is we're going to load the SPAD SP what pipe table, and it might take a bit.
So the AD is essentially what was archive delete table. So we archive changes or deletions in there, and then we flag them, and they carry with it the object GID. They create their own new GID. They're a valid spatial table, but they create their own new GID, but they have a column in it that's the object GID, which comes from the table it came from, so the water pipes table in this case.
So for now, so I'm going to color the, oops, not that one. I'm going to color that line yellow, and you'll see why in a moment. So that is our AD table data, and the water pipe itself we'll just do blue like we normally do. All right, so now we've got these two layers loaded. I'll just zoom into this little area over here. If we switch that off, we'll see the blue pipes below it. All right. Now, in the AD table, so I'll just show quickly the lineage date. This is this date over here, and this is the date we're going to use in our little demo here on to see which pipes changed over time in a nice visual way. Right, so we can have a look in the settings for the AD. We go into the temporal settings over here. We say, yep, we're going to click this box. We're going to change this to say a single field with the date and time, because that's what we have. And the field will be lineage date, right? Right, so this basically what we did now is we're going to say this will be the layer that we're going to use for time-based display, and also which also which column we're going to use. Now, the next thing is we make sure that we have the temporal panel shown, right? So this is this panel over here.
So Philip, just before you turn this on, we saw a yellow layer and a blue layer. There was like a couple of pipes that were blue. So bottom line is the archive delete table only stores anything that had a change or a deletion on it. So if there were ones that we saw that were blue, it was in a different area. It was just a little bit. Those would be new. In other words, they're not in archive or delete. They're just it's an insert, and we actually track that somewhere else. But that's kind of where that's at. So now we're drilling down into the time range. So that's awesome.
Yeah. So what we're doing here is we're setting this or sort of this panel to read the data out of this database, or sort of out of this table, and calculate the range. So now we can see the range here is edits has been done from 2010 to 2023. Now the third button here, so this one gives us the actual steps that we're going to use. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this to the step will be 1 year. Otherwise we're going to sit here for too long. All right, now we're ready. So if we press play, and we have to just switch that layer on. So right, what are we seeing here? So what we're seeing is every year, I'm going to just let this thing loop, right, so that we can talk. So what we're seeing here is as every year data is read, those are the pipes that was edited in that year, the ones that flashes yellow over there, right? And probably that one was a whole update of an attribute or something. So this is pretty useful. Now we can also zoom to different towns. So let's go, I don't know, maybe here. And of course, we can always do our quick map services and switch off or switch on some background data if we want. And then we hit play, and then we can see, it's a bit distracting to be honest, the background, I guess. Well, there was a big update. Anyway, right, so this is a way that you can use QGIS to show some time-based data and maybe impress your boss or something. Like
also, if you have age or install data on your actual data, you can play out as the area was constructed, and you kind of see the spread of time and where it was. So in any of those, same concept.
Yeah. All right. So next one what we're going to do is also pretty easy. So let's and this is just to create a few maps. So I'll just maybe go to the slide. So we just show you what we're on about. So what we're going to do here is again just going to make a little connection to Oracle, and we're just going to do some thematic mapping, and that's it. This is basically in preparation for slides to come as well. But it is good to see this in action, as this is something that we will often do. So SPWatt part, I'll load that, and SPWatt node, I'll load that. And let's zoom into somewhere. So there. I just want to switch this temporal off. Sorry, panel color. What pipe? I'll just make that symbology. Just turn that blue again. Now, what node? As you can see, it's just all red dots. So to make a thematic of that is pretty easy. We just say, I want to categorize this. I want to categorize it by node type, because we know in the database, those who knows the data model, that the node types is there's hydrants and junctions and all sorts of things. And let's just keep the circle, and then you just hit classify, bang, and all the unique node types are then read out, and they're given a default color circle. Okay, so what we have now here is all of that, and we can see, all right, so this light gray seemed to be the most used over here, or light blue, cyan. So we can easily say this is a, what is it? That's a hydrant single. So normally hydrants are just blue circles, and let's make it a blue circle, right? Okay, blue circles. Now we also know junctions is used a lot, so we'll just make junction transparent, and we make the outline of that blue. Maybe we'll make a junction a little bit smaller, 1.6. Okay, so now we've got the junctions and the hydrants. Next up, probably these gate valves. So gate valves, there's no obvious symbol here or here, and Open Spatial has worked a little bit on this, but more to come in the future. So we've got a few symbols that is built, of which the gate valve is one. So I'll just pick that, and I'll also just make it a little bit bigger. Let's see, something like that. All right. So now we've got a few of these things happening. The other one, or the other thing that I quickly want to say is, you can see the rotation of these valves are all at the moment just horizontal. So we need them to align with the pipe. So we have a formula for that. So we know what that is. So I can just, since I can't post it, so it's 360 minus, now the sim angle is what is stored inside the database, but that's in radians. So we have to convert that to degrees, because QGIS works in degrees, right? So I think some angle, and that is right. So let's see if that works. Okay. All right, there we go. So now you can see that the little valves, they're all nicely aligned with the pipes, and we don't have to do anything more there. So what is that yellow one? End cap. All right, end cap. So let's change, I'm just going to use this line for now as the end cap. Maybe make it like blue, and also just make it a bit bigger and a bit thicker. Right. Okay. All right. So there's the end caps. End caps is the same story. We have to also change their rotation and some angle, and convert to degrees. Let's see. It's going to work. All right, so that one is aligned now as well. All right, so what we have now here is, I haven't done everything, but most of our nodes, at least in this area that we're looking at, is now making a little bit more sense. And now, if you want, again, you can go web, quick map services, and put on a background. for a little bit of context, and you can make a screenshot of that and getting that into a email or a post or whatever. The next one that we want to do here is now just a screenshot in the email is maybe not what we're after. We want to make a PDF of this and send that off. So if we do that, it's not that difficult. So only thing is project import export as PDF. Answer a few questions here. So that's the extent. We'll leave the extent. You can change these things to make the PDF a little bit more, the resolution a little bit better. But you want to check this little box here. This says create a Spatial PDF, right? So let's check that box just for sakes. And then let's change that. Let's save that. I'll save that on my desktop up there and say webinar. All right, save. Right, so I will just quickly find it and then show it to you. Right, so there's a PDF of our screen, but here's the beauty. We can go back here to this. So this is Foxit. This is a normal PDF reader, nothing fancy. You can have you have now layers here that you can switch on and off, which is pretty cool. So it's almost like a little mobile map, or even, dare I say, a map book, if you do this on a larger scale. Okay, now this is a quick and dirty PDF map. We have only 6 minutes left. I wonder if I should do the other one. So I'll just talk about, so the other more better one is if you use print layouts. The print layouts is a piece of paper that you add things to. So you can add the map, you can add a north arrow, and I'm not going to be pretty here, and add a maybe a scale bar, and there's also the legend, obviously. The nice thing about this legend is if you scroll down here, you can say, you see this legend is too long, you can say, where is that? Check, here it is. Only show items inside the link map. So only the actual features in the map is then shown here. So that is cool. And then you've got another interesting thing, that's map properties, where you can say, all right, well, add the coordinate system, add maybe the units, projection, and so on, scale, anything. You can add the current item, current date, day, month, year. And obviously you can add a normal big label, map topic. And if you want, you can make it nice and big. Now, this is really not a pretty map, but you get the point. And with the same as the PDF, you export, oops, not as SVG, sorry. You do the same thing as at the other spot as a PDF, and you can switch these things on. Now, what I've found is if you switch the different images on satellite or imagery for background data, and you do Google and Bing, you'll often get different times of the same area. This one is just like that. But if you export this, you can refresh your layout on the other side. But I'm just going to export this one just to give you the effect of that in a PDF. So this is a PDF, and now suddenly you've got all sorts of imagery as part of your PDF that you can just give to a third party to have a look at, which I thought is very helpful. All right. So we've got only 2 minutes left. For those who want to stay, please do. I think I'll continue with the rest of the slides. It will. Are you okay with that?
It's fine.
Colin?
Yeah, keep going. We will record it. If you need to drop off, please do so, and we'll send you the recording of this. Just one thing about that map you made. I know you were pushed for time, so you're whipping right through it. However, you can save that setup as a template, so that you can literally take that and go and reuse the template again and again. And that's very, very useful, by the way. So if you take all the time to get a nice layout with a legend and a piece of text that describes it, and you can add tabular text, you can add like properties from the table as well on that map, make a good hybrid explanatory map that's got, you know, the features plus the listings and all of that. So if you just go to the project save as template thing, and so anyway, but that's just something for people to look at. Keep going, Philip.
Yep. So just quickly for those who do want to stay, so what I'll cover is so we've done that one. So this one is the next one I want to do, is to show how you do URLs inside map tips and actions. And I'll also show how to create a bit of code with that ChatGPT bot or AI. Then I will quickly show empty, so in ACDC, just how an empty chat file is that we provide as a template to capture data with, but also one coming back and with data in. Just a quick slide, JSNJ GDA 2020, nothing too fancy there, but I also will show 3D viewer in QGIS because that is also a very mature functionality that's been in there for a while, and you know, and really works pretty well. So for those who want to stay, please do. I probably another 20 minutes or so. Let me just see on my webinar if we do have people still here. Yep. Right. So we've got 15 people, and if you want to stay, feel free. All right. So let's go. This one, videos, that one we've done. That's just a picture. All right. So map tips. There. Map tips. All right. So this one is also pretty cool. So we've got this button over here, top right, and it is show map tips if it's like gray like that, or if it's pressed and it's off, then map tips won't show. So for now, I will maybe just switch a few things off here. So I'll just switch that on, map tips. Now, if we hover over anything now, like type, right, there's nothing happening. It shows something. So let's see what it's showing. Color rain. So over here, display. This is where we control what happens on the map tip. And at the moment, it says it shows locality name. So that's why That's why it showed Coleraine, which is that town's name, over there. So this is the attributes of that SPY pipe table, which is locality name is 1, and that's why it showed that. But we can change it by adding some HTML code in here. Right. Now, this is where I'm quickly going to go to my browser. Let me find it there and log in. So open AI there. Right, so it logged me in, my password is saved, and I've got all sorts of things that I've done in the past. But what I want to say is, I want to ask it, so what I want to do is I want a link that just links me to a Enlighten web page, right? I'm going to say, give me the HTML code to link to http://osmgos/1, and that's the site I want. So it's going to say, yep, to create a hyperlink to that in HTML, you need the anchor tag, blah, 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 blah. Thank you very much. And let's copy that. And in QGIS, we'll just paste that there. Right, as is, no change. We just say apply, okay. Now, if we hover over here, it's going to say link to that site. And then if we click it, it's opening the site that I want. So the AI did the job, the site exists, there it is. And what I'm going to do is just quickly log in there. So just give me a moment. Just get the password. It's one of those difficult ones. Password. And there's our Enlighten. All right, so that's a simple link, just linking to Enlighten. But what if I want to get a bit smarter, and I want to also make this text a little bit bigger? I will go back to my AI. No, not this one. So I need the text. I need the text to be a bit bigger, and to say show part in Enlighten. Let's see if he understands me. Okay, so it did something. So let's see if I replace that, bang, and say apply. Okay. Now if I hover here, it says show pipe in Enlighten, but obviously it won't show the pipe in Enlighten yet because there's the URL is just linking to the website. It's not doing the actual integration. So I've pre-prepared that URL for that. So I'll just copy it from my prepared notes. So again, go in here. I'll just paste it below this so you can see the structure is the same. So it's just the anchor. There's the link that is built. So it's using our Enlighten integration logon, and it's using a search to get to it. And it says also view pipe and Enlighten, and it's a little bit bigger. So I'll just delete that old one, and I'll say apply. Now, if I do this view pipe and Enlighten, it should open up Enlighten, and you will have a look on the right hand side. It creates the search, types in the search, looking for it, found it, and is zooming to it. Right. So this is a way of integrating QGIS to the map tips and the Enlighten integration document or processes, and this is all well documented, the structure of these integration URLs, and also a little bit of AI to get back. Now the second one that I want to show is the action. So the action is, and I'll just open up that. I'll just drag it across. So actions is also similar, but it's not a tooltip on the map. It's more a action that you click off the browser, of the interface of QGIS. So the one that I want to do is, so you can see this is the action menu toolbar, but there's no actions at the moment, right? So the actions, we do control over here, actions, and it's an empty screen, and you can add actions. It also has this default action button. So if you create that, you'll get a few examples of actions that can happen. You can run, there's all sorts of types of actions. I will use just the open URL one now, but there's all sorts of different things you can do, run your own Python scripts and so on. So I'm just going to remove all of these and just add an action to open a URL, and it will say open map in Enlighten. So what I'm going to do with this action, or with this, is to paste some codes in here to open Enlighten, but zoom to the extent of what you had in QGIS. These scopes over here is to tell QGIS where do you want this action to be visible. So you can have it on the feature, on the layer, here, maybe in all sorts of forms. But I'm just going to use the canvas, which means this top thing over there. And the code that I have, I'll just copy that from my pre-prepared thing. So the first one is this one. So for the moment, just allow me to add a few actions. So that one is the first one, and I'll explain what it does in a moment. The second one is I want to add an action that does a Google search. So what this one will do is it takes the material. So there you can see the attribute material. Remember, we are in our pipe layer. It's going to take the material, put it in a Google query, and if I click this action, it will do the search. Right, so, and this one, the one that I had done before, so this is a pretty long URL, but basically it uses variables from QGIS to build up a URL about the map extent, about the top left. So it calculates all the corners and then give that over to Enlighten. So let's see if this works. Okay, so there's our actions now. It's now not great anymore. We have two actions: open map in Enlighten and open and search Google on the pipes material. So let's do open the map in Enlighten. So, all right, let's go to a different spot, or let's go to the whole town. Yeah. So this is the area that I want to see in Enlighten, and then I click that. It wants you to click on a feature, and it will now open up Enlighten and zoom to that town. So again, now you've got all the rich context of what's happening in Enlighten, but you've made that link here from QGIS. Now the other one, I hope we've got, so the other one is search Google on the material of the pipe. So let's say we've got this pipe, we don't know what the material is. Unfortunately, it's AC, and it gets all the air conditioning results. But the principle remains. You can, I'm actually trying. So I know in Warrnambool, or a newer area there, I think is that Warrnambool? So in Warrnambool, this is a fairly new area. Just switch the, it should have not AC pipe. So let's PVC. Right. So now we did a search from QGIS into Google for PVC, and it's going to tell you a bit about PVC pipe. Right. So this is sort of how you can with QGIS go and open things, use your map tips and actions, and integrate back to Enlighten. Okay, so our next slide is, what is the next slide? Just get that. Right, so ICDC and QGIS, right? So let's yeah, so let's do this one, ICDC and QGIS. So this is fairly straightforward. What I want to show is, and I'll just make a new project. So the only thing that I here want to show is we publish shape files as a zipped batch of shape files that is empty. It has no records, and it also has no attribute data. But the structure of this shapefile is so that you can upload it to our validation portal. So all you have to do is to sort of pull the zip file into QGIS. It will then tell you, look, this zip file is containing a whole bunch of files. Which ones do you want? So I'll just deselect all, and I'll say, well, only show me drainage, all the DSpec empty shapefile. And I'll also check this box normally to add these files to their own group, right? So add that, and you can see there's nothing happening here. All these files are empty. If you click the say pipes shapefile, if you look at the attribute template or the attribute table, it's full of emptiness. But the structure is as you need it to fill in the data for the validation portal to use and check. So that's that, the empty ones. You can then, once you go then through the whole process of the validation portal, on the other side you can get a zip file again of all the data that's validated and is now ready to use by an organization. So I'm just dragging that in. And again, it's looking through the zip file telling me, all right, you've got a few files in there with, and also a record count and everything. And I say, well, let's load all of them again in a group, and it will load that. So let me just say, okay, on this interface, and it will load those guys in. Press cancel on the other one. Let me just try that again. Oh, maybe it loaded inside. Sometimes that happens. Oh, yes. It loaded it inside that group. So because my highlight was, I'll just drag this group out. All right, so there it is. And let's just zoom to the layer. Right, so there's the extent. Drag that to the bottom. And I'll switch that off. You'll see the other drainage data. And if we now look at, say, the pipes attribute table, you can see the attribute table. The guys who did the software or did the capture work, did all the capture work. It's got all the upstream, downstreams, and everything is ready for the GIS and asset management system to use this. Let's just quickly again use this quick map service just to show you. When I prepared this slide, I loaded that one, and I also loaded the thing. And interestingly enough, the Bing satellite, or the Google, was taken while construction here was happening, and the Bing was a bit later, and everything is grown up and the roofs are on, and there's been a few. So this would be a very good one to make a geo PDF from, using this data and send to someone, and they can then, you know, see a little bit of the construction phase of this project as well. Okay, so that is ACDC shapefiles. The next bit is this is really just to show you that QGIS does contain out of the box, since version 2.18, all the GDA 2020 projections, and with their new EPSG codes, and also to show you that there is this plugin, the ICSM NTV2 transformer plugin, where you can pick an in file, name an out file, and then transform between all these, all the 94, GDA 94 and the GDA 2020 coordinate system. So I'm not going to show that, but there is this plugin, and QGIS out of the box supports all of those coordinate systems. Then, so this is the last slide, and we can do a little bit of questions after that. If I see we still have 12 people on, so this is really good. So back to the QGIS then. I close this. So I'm going to open up. So I'm going to just discard this one and open from Oracle that 3D one. That one. Like a little bit. Right, so this one will take a while to load. What the three layers that I have in here, the one, this is a DEM, it's a real digital elevation model from One and Water for the city of Warrnambool, and still loading. So there it is. So this is the the digital elevation model of Warrnambool. And as you know, Warrnambool, this is sort of the little bay, and this is the Hopkins River coming in. The thematic on this one is specific. Let me just show you. The one I like is this one, because this one is sort of intuitive in terms of its elevation. You can see you get the lower things are black and blue, and the higher ones is this reddish, yellow, and green. So the elevation model in this case, this thematic, is from minus 0.5 to about 67 meters above sea level. So this is a DEM. This is not just a JPEG. It's an actual digital elevation model. This is so the next layer here. This is a very good high resolution image of the city of Warrnambool. And what is happening on the 2D view, which is this one, is you can just see the picture, but obviously you don't know what's below it or the elevation. But on the 3D side, I'll show you now how we zoom and pan and sort of tilt this thing. Now, a lot of 3D maps is really not easy to navigate. You have to learn. They're a little bit different in a lot of aspects. But this 3D map, maybe before we go into there, is there's a few configuration settings one can do. So the one that I've done here is to say the 3D camera follows the 2D map, right? So you've seen this. So if I zoom into the race course, the 3D one will do the same. You can do it the other way around as well, right? Or probably both sides. You know, if I then over, seems like it's a bit slower the other way. For both ways. I haven't tried this, but anyway, you see the idea. I'll just keep it this way. Right. So let's go to Hopkins River.
Okay, I think we lost Flip's audio there again. Probably all the 3D stuff is maxing out his bandwidth, I guess. So now we're looking at a 3D view and a 2D view of the same area. So now we can turn on the pipes. Okay, so we set the height to -10 now. So we expect to see, it's busy loading those tiles. So those pipes are basically under the ground at this point. If you turn your world upside down, you can see them. So that pipe's running under the road there. And so it's just busy tying out the 3D one. And there's the catchment connecting area, and then you can see the pipes going straight under the water, etc. If you did want to see where the pipes were above the ground, then you just change that -10 to, you can actually do a plus, and then it'll have them as if they were on top. And then there are other options whether you can drape them or not as well. Yeah, so here we're going to +2. You should see them on top now. So this data is, the data itself is just regular pipes, not 3D. What we're doing is draping it to the terrain on the 3D in this point. So there are other techniques for when you actually want to see the vertices within the actual vector data itself. Yeah, we should take questions. Before we get to that, while you guys are thinking of your questions online, you know, QGIS can do a lot, and we're sort of saying like we've got all of the connections to the Munsis data, and so you have a lot of good data that can be presented, analyzed, and essentially, you know, produced as mapping. At this point, we're saying in terms of Munsis and QGIS is create your features through the Munsis Management Console, add columns through Munsis Management Console, keep track of your lookup tables, your relationships, all of that within Munsis, because then you can have it in both environments. If once you've set up the tables and somebody is actually editing attributes inside of one of those features, you can do that in QGIS. Do be careful, however, there's not going to be an integrity check, and they may not, and there are tools in QGIS actually to do drop downs. There's a plugin you can go and add, but you may also be missing that. So you're kind of going to lose that. If, however, you make a change in QGIS and it goes and gets applied to the Munsis table, actually Munsis lineage is going to pick it up because it's really a set of triggers on the database end. So you will see that. However, they will be referenced by the user. Now, in our quick guide that Philip's provided, we're suggesting you actually make the QGIS folks read-only users, and you go from there. If you do try and add, if you are an edit user and you do add new rows, for example, say you draw a pipe and you post it in that Oracle database, and from QGIS, it's not going to get, it's going to fail because it didn't create the GID, and that's a mandatory column. And then there's also the sequence, and then also any kind of start-end node calculations that Munsis is doing, plus any other contextual stuff that we're doing. So just, you know, bear that in mind. But very powerful platform to be able to create maps, particularly the layouts, the mapping, the thematics, the analytics. I've done a bunch of projects with that at San Francisco Airport, for example. We did they were looking where they should put the corridors for the utility assets when they were building out a new hangar there. And one of the things we did is we took all the underground assets, assigned them a value, just a relative value of, you know, basically what's the cost if you had to move this thing? And we put those all on a map, and then we put that into a QGIS analytics by adding up all of, doing buffered them out sort of like a heat map, and then added all those values on top of each other as a raster analysis, but essentially coming to the cost load in any corridor of any point in the airfield. And they could literally see if we put this building just, you know, 5 meters to one side, it's going to save us millions and millions of realigning the underground underground utilities. And there was a 3D presentation, so you could do the same sort of thing that Philip was doing, except now instead of looking at a 3D landscape, you're looking at a 3D value or cost of moving the assets, and you're looking at within the context of the GIS. So there's a lot of stuff you can do like that, which is really a good thing. You did not touch on the publish a map as an open layers. Any map in QGIS that you see there, there's an option on the menus to say just pop that right out as an open layers map, which really can be embedded on any web page or popped anywhere. And you can include whether it includes the data itself or not. And so you'll see that. You'll need some data on the screen. But anyway, so there's a lot more to it. What we're just trying to show is that QGIS is a very great tool to have in the arsenal of things that you can achieve with good data that you've already got in Munsis. You know, we will, I'm actually doing the same webinar tomorrow in the US. We'll record one of the two or both and mix and match, and then we'll ultimately post those recordings for folks. Maybe we actually even do both, because probably, you know, different take. There's a lot to QGIS, and it really depends on what projects you've worked on with it as to where your stuff is. So I've actually learned some stuff from Philip today, which is wonderful, and so we'll you know, go like that. We're kind of interested if you have any feedback on what you'd like to see us do with QGIS. Open to, you know, at least listening to any kind of questions that you may have. All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Thanks, Colin. Cheers.